So I have a Halloween costume in the works, but it's probably going to be another year or two before it's ready because it's an intense Tudor costume that's going to be completely hand sewn. I'm going to have to get started on sewing that. But this Halloween, I am going to be Aladdin. And my friend Alexa, who has done so much work on the Tudor costume, she actually made this Aladdin costume, and we nerded out over it completely. We based it on the Disney version of Aladdin, and I wanted it to look like the cartoon costume. So today I just want to talk to you about Halloween costume inspiration. Halloween's coming up. It's such a fun day here in New York. Not a day, it's actually a fun night in New York. The city just transforms, and everybody's smiling when you can see their face because there are so many characters everywhere. So for the Aladdin costume, this is the vest, and these are the harem pants, as Alexa calls them. And there's one thing that I have to do to these harem pants, and that's to sew a little yellow patch on this. But what I wanted to talk about was the opportunity to really do a few things if you're creating a Halloween costume for yourself. A, if you're interested in sewing, and if you're interested in learning specifically how to make clothing, Halloween costumes are a fantastic place to practice this skill because it's low investment. Like, you make a costume, it's not great, no one's going to be criticizing your sewing technique. There are Halloween costumes that are made out of garbage bags that look great. So it's a great time of year to get a pattern, get some fabric, make something that is going to excite you, and really start to try your hand at making clothing. Another tip, if you're going to take that route, is if you're going to start to learn how to sew and you're going to start with a Halloween costume, don't go necessarily to the fabric store and buy cloth that's maybe expensive by the yard. Recycle things like curtains or sheets. Curtains and sheets can be found at thrift stores, and they're so inexpensive, and you can often find really good sheets and curtains to turn into costumes, which is what I've done in the past. My mom actually had a curtain business when we were growing up, and a lot of our costumes were made out of the offcuts from the drapes, from the swags that she would make. So today, all these years later, I've had many Halloween costumes that I've made myself. I kind of wanted this to be done beautifully and quickly. I came up with this idea recently, and I knew I didn't have time, so Alexa was so generous with her time making this costume. But at this point in my life, when I am going to create a costume, there's one aspect of this that kind of really excites me, and that is the opposite of what I just said. For this level of costume, when it's so simple, when the person who's making it is very skilled, Alexa makes costumes for Broadway and for TV shows and film, I was excited to use really good fabric, like luxurious fabric. So Aladdin is wearing in the cartoon a very skimpy vest, very skimpy, and I knew that like most of what's going to be shown is not the vest, it's skin. So for the vest itself, I thought I would really love for my take on Aladdin's vest to be cotton velvet, and this is pure cotton velvet. There's no synthetic fiber in here, it's pure cotton velvet, and the lining of the vest, which hardly anyone will see, but this is actually because it's going to be up against my bare skin, the lining was actually the most expensive fabric of this whole costume, and this is silk. It's called Duchess silk. It's like an 8-ply Italian silk, and we happen to find it in a light purple that goes so well with the cotton velvet. Look at Alexa's beautiful hand stitching for the lining. So this is the thing that at this point in my life, when I'm wearing clothing or having clothing made, I understand that a huge part of the experience of clothing is not just what it looks like, but what it feels like. And I know a lot about the high-end garment making industry, things that are bespoke and things that are made in couture houses. And the linings of those things are often very precious material because they're coming in contact with the wearer's skin. It changes the experience. When you're walking around, maybe no one is going to see the lining in your jacket, but when it's silk and when it's up against your bare arms, there's something so wonderful about that feeling. So I transferred that to this vest, cotton on the outside, silk on the inside, and then these ridiculous cartoon trousers there's a cotton, sort of an interesting slub cotton for the sash, which Alexa actually made as a sort of supported, reinforced, like a corset kind of thing. And the pants, the fabric for the pants, is not linen or cotton, but it's a raw silk. I was thinking of something that looked kind of rustic, but that would still feel really nice. And this is a what's called a tussa silk. So it's a very thick thread that has been woven in a plain weave. Now, that's the costume. I have to sew the patch on. Should I go try it on? I think I should try it on. Okay, I'll be right back. Here's the costume, and I should also point out that the intention of this costume is closely connected to the sorts of places in which I'll be wearing it. And I feel I should not divulge of what those places will be here in New York, but there is a reason why this city is sometimes called Sin City. So when I thought of the Halloween costume I wanted this year, this was it. Thank you, Alexa. Now let me show you some of the accessories that go along with this costume. Aladdin needs his lamp. And a fez, little fez hat. And admittedly, this is not the one I will be wearing. The one I'm going to be wearing is coming from a hatter. It's in the mail, and it's a lot more real than this one, but for the time being. And then the shoes, which were a lot of fun to find. I actually went to Jackson Heights here in New York to the Indian stores and asked to look at men's wedding shoes, and they're made in India. They're exactly the sort of thing that I was envisioning for this costume. You know, there's a line in Mean Girls when one of them says, while they're getting dressed for Halloween, that she says something that I always just assumed was not applicable to me. I thought this was only a female thing. And this year, I realized it's totally applicable to everybody. Halloween is the one day of the year that you can dress like a total slut and no one will shame you for it. And where I'll be wearing this costume is the place where the line will be a little less conversation and a little more touch of my body.